Hello and welcome back to Parallax Scrolling for web design. In this video, we're going to talk about what parallax scrolling is, and then I'll show you a few online examples to really illustrate the point. So when I think about describing parallax scrolling to someone who's never heard of it before, I usually think of driving down the road in Colorado, where you have a bunch of mountains off in the distance, maybe some hills a little closer to you, and then right up against the road you have some trees flying by. So as you're driving, you look back at the mountains, and you can see the mountains kind of seem to scroll along a little bit, but they're moving really slowly in the background. And then maybe these hills and mountains, smaller mountains that are a little bit closer to you, they seem to be moving a little bit quicker as we drive by. But then the trees that are right up against the edge of the road just seem to fly by as you drive through the beautiful scenery of Colorado. And that's exactly what parallax scrolling is. When you have two or more objects that are scrolling at different speeds, that really gives the slower scrolling objects the appearance that they're further away. So let's take a look at a few examples online to see what we're talking about. The first example I have pulled up here is at a website called iwc.com, and you can see the URL in the address bar. But this is a simple website, very clean, very nice looking website. But watch the background as we scroll down. As we scroll, this background image on the left and right is scrolling at a different speed than the rest of the content. The content is scrolling up a little bit faster, whereas the background is just slowly creeping upwards as we scroll. And that is a very subtle effect, but it looks really nice. With that simple effect, it really adds a lot to our website. So we can scroll up or down, and it will scroll at a slower speed than the content in front of it. So it's a really nice, simple effect. And this is very similar to what our very first project is going to be. We're going to have two layers. We're going to have a background layer, and then we're going to have our content layer. And the content is going to scroll up faster than the background. Another great example of this is at a website called culturalsolutions.co.uk. And it gives a similar effect. If we scroll down, we see that we have this foreground layer with our content in it. And it also has a little bit of a textured pattern on it. And it's scrolling up faster than some of these background items, these circles that are in the background. And that gives it the effect that these circles here, this yellow, blue, red one, that these are further away than our content because they're scrolling slower. And this also has a really helpful menu at the top where you can actually click on these menu items and it will scroll for you. And just that simple parallax effect really adds a lot to the experience of this website. Okay, a third example I wanted to show is at a website called rowtothepole.com, and I really like the effect on this one. Here we actually have three layers of scrolling. We have our foreground layer, which is scrolling like normal with the scroll bar, and then we have two background layers. We have a background layer that has the icebergs and the water around the icebergs. And as we scroll down, we can see that that's moving pretty slow. But above that, we have these cloud layers that are moving a little bit faster than the iceberg layers, but not as fast as the content. So again, we have three layers of scrolling here, which really gives it a very, very cool effect. And the second project that we'll be creating in the series is similar to this one. We're going to have three different scrolling speeds going on in our second project. And so the final example I want to show you is just an example of how far we can take this effect. If we go to a website called head2heart.us, we actually have an example of a side-scrolling website. And you'll notice there are no scroll bars here. I can't scroll left and right. I can't scroll up and down. It's all done using these menu buttons. So down here at the very bottom, we can click on these different menu buttons to create that scrolling effect. Now we're not actually going to create anything like this. We're not going to do any side scrolling in this video course. However, I just wanted to show you what's possible. So again, you click on each one of these and we see things moving at different rates of speed. The content is moving at one speed. You'll notice the clouds at the bottom are moving at a different rate of speed. And this background texture is moving slower than everything else. So that's just another really neat example of parallax scrolling and what you're able to do with it in web design. So I hope this has given you a good idea of the kinds of things you can do with parallax scrolling. Again, this is going to rely heavily on the use of CSS and jQuery. So again, if you don't have any experience with CSS or jQuery, then I highly suggest you find some introductory material first before we move forward with these videos. But those are some examples I just wanted to show you. Hopefully they will inspire you and help you to come up with ideas for your own websites that use parallax scrolling. But in the next video, we're going to get started on our first project. So I'll see you then.